Observing the skull from a lateral view reveals the position of the temporal bone, which you can see here. It articulates with the sphenoid bone here, parietal bone here, and occipital bone here. Note its articulation with the zygomatic bone, where the temporal process of the zygomatic bone and the zygomatic process of the temporal bone meet. Here you can see the external auditory meatus and mandibular fossa of the temporal bone. Some other features of the temporal bone are visible, specifically the mastoid and styloid processes, both providing anchoring to a number of muscles in the neck. The superior view of the skull allows us to observe the bones which articulate with the temporal bone within the cranial cavity. Remember, the foramen ovale and spinosum are located on the sphenoid bone, and through here is where the temporal bone articulates with the sphenoid bone. Here is where it articulates with the occipital bone. You can see here is where it articulates with the parietal bone. This largely pyramidal-shaped structure is the petrous part of the temporal bone, with its apex orientated anteromedially. This area houses the structures of the ear and a number of cranial nerves and their branches. Moving inferiorly, you can see the internal acoustic meatus and jugular foramen. On the ventral surface of the skull, we can see where the temporal bone articulates with the occipital, sphenoid, and zygomatic bones. Here we see the styloid and mastoid processes again, and in between them the stylomastoid foramen. The carotid canal and jugular foramen, which is deep to the jugular fossa, are both important openings where the internal carotid artery and the internal jugular veins cross, respectively. The latter foramen also transmits a number of cranial nerves.